energy are you bringing into Black History Month? Radical.
Happy Black History Month, y'all.
Let's keep being great.
We're voting for everyone Black because it's Black History Month. Duh.
Happy Black History Month. Just our culture, our music, our flair.
Boundaries.
Everything empowering.
It's our month.
We never do anything wrong. We can do no wrong.
I'm just relaxed. I'm just here to celebrate, just having a great time.
Definitely togetherness, unity, pray for the world, live life, man.
Empowerment. Yes, we did. It is Black History every single day. We're just going to highlight February. But it is us 365, 24/7.
Doechii, what energy?
History has a way of repeating itself. Today, it rhymes with the clicking of handcuffs on two of our own, Don Lemon and Georgia Fort. We know this playbook. We saw it in 1942 when the Department of Justice threatened John Sinstack and the NNPA with sedition. We saw it in the 1960s when Southern sheriffs labeled journalists outside agitators to hide their own brutality. The strategy hasn't changed, only the statutes have. By weaponizing the FACE Act and the Ku Klux Klan Act to turn reporters into conspirators, this government is attempting to resurrect the same walls of silence that the Black press has spent 2 centuries tearing down. There is a bitter, hollow irony in seeing the KKK Act, a law forged during Reconstruction to protect Black lives from white terror, now being used to prosecute Black journalists for the crime of holding a camera. When federal agents arrived at Georgia Fort's door while her children were watching, they are sending a message to every independent journalist of color. Your camera is a liability, and your witness is a crime. In 1918, when the government tried to use the Espionage Act to muzzle W.E.B. Du Bois, he looked them in the eye and said, "The right of the people to speak and to print is a right which no government in a democracy can safely take away." He knew then what we must remember now. You cannot build a democracy by arresting its witnesses. Dr. Du Bois taught us that the Black press is the only press that is really free because it refuses to be owned by the powerful. He called this work the voice of the voiceless. We, the NNPA, stand with Georgia Fort, Don Lemon, and all those arrested. We demand these charges be dropped immediately. We close with Du Bois' eternal warning. If the government thinks it can silence our complaints, it is making a mistake, and we shall not be moved.
Welcome to
History has a way of repeating itself.
Welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known, and this is the type of leadership that Black media needs, the W.E.B. Du Bois type leadership today.
Peace and love, y'all, and welcome to Let It Be Known. A lot to talk about. That video was very important by Dr. Chavis, the leader of Black Press and NNPA. As you know, we just set the tone for why we're here. And so today we have headlines about the Super Bowl, Michelle Obama, HBCUs, the Epstein files, and Grammys. And, you know, this is the 100th anniversary of Black History Month, y'all, which started in 1926 by Dr. Carter G. Woodson as Negro History Week and the growth of it. And you saw Dr. Chavis talking about the history of the Black press and how, you know, we can't forget that W.E.B. Du Bois was attacked. And he talked about the KKK Act. So I think that Dr. Chavis, Stacey, really put into perspective that this is nothing new for Black journalists. This is nothing new for the Black press. And as people were ridiculed, the Black press was the one to amplify those messages. And so Dr. Chavis really centered us in this movement and the importance of Black press.
Yeah, and RNG says that that's how you start off Black History Month. We've been told and shown and demonstrated forever how important the Black press is. As I said, you just have to have that same resolve that a W.E.B. Du Bois or an Ida B. Wells had. That's what you need. this is a moment where it's so necessary. It's
And
so
what made
important.
what made it so great about a W.B. Du Bois and a Ida B. Wells, and even today, a Dr. Chavis, is that they didn't waver. They picked a side. They rallied for people to be able to vote. They picked a side. And that's what something that the Black press is known for, is picking a side and not just talking about it and not just being a talking head, but they also advocate it. So if they tell you something, they're not just, delivering it. They're not hot or cold. This is what's at stake for Black America. This is what we need to be doing. And I think that's what differentiates the Black press from media.
Yeah, and you had to, with all that's going on, and I guess it's always better to let stuff marinate a little bit. And they say better late than never. It was good to see that the NMPA had a statement. You wondered, there were people wondering, well, are they going to make a statement? Was the Black press going to make a statement? And a day after, that Saturday, we got the statement. And so,
but I think that the Black press made a statement before Saturday, because it's not just
well,
based upon. I wasn't finished.
An individual newspaper made a statement. The Black press did not make a statement.
That's not true, Stacey. The Black press is a collaborative effort, and
I'm talking about.
I'm not finished, Stacey. I'm not finished. Let me finish. Okay. What I'm saying is, on that Saturday, you had the Black press social media handles speaking to what in real time. I'm talking about the posts that were made. It's not just about a statement, it's about being involved as things are happening. And you saw Black-owned newspapers across the country doing that.
Right, independently owned paper. I'm talking about the organization, the Black Press Organization. That's what I'm talking about. If you're going to say that you are the trusted voice, people are looking for the trusted voice. People are looking for, and finally, I'm not taking anything away from it. Finally, the president and CEO of the NMPA, the Black Press of America, finally gave us a really good statement. That's all I'm saying. Now, other Black entities did. Denise Roloff Barnes rolled out a great statement, her and Misha Green in the Washington Informer, almost immediately.
And that
NABJ not only but they were out there.
I'm not understanding your point, but okay.
I don't understand why you don't understand.
I mean,
we're talking about NMPA, the Black press. Well, I'm not talking about other media entities. Not all Black. Roland Martin is not the NMPA.
I was talking about the Black newspapers, the NMPA, Black Press USA.
Okay,
and I'm
so
saying
we got something prior to that from leadership.
And I'm just saying that
from our board.
I don't understand what you're talking about, Stacey. I know that I was going back and forth with Randy, totally Randy.
Randy's not leadership.
But Stacey, I think that you're missing the point, honey. It's not about that. It's about making sure that the people know. We're talking about
W.E.B. Du Bois. Where's that type of leadership?
Okay, we can leave that right there with that. Let's go to the first story.
And Don Lemon received a hero's welcome at a Grammy party, Clive Davis's Grammy party. But again, we talked about this on Friday. Let's not forget Georgia Fort. Let's not forget the others. I'm hoping, and I think we said this on Friday, that Don will continue to lift them up as well, because Don has that platform to do so. We saw the horrors of Georgia Fort. They go into her home, as Dr. Chavis mentioned, with her kids there. That has to be remembered when we're talking about Don, when people are talking about Don Lemon. And Don Lemon I think is incumbent upon Don Lemon to make sure that he continues to lift up those reporters and those activists on the ground in Minneapolis.
Yeah, it's good to see everybody was released, but the conversation continues and the work is still being done. Georgia is still on the Fort line. Today on live on Black Press USA, we'll be talking with Nekima Levy, who actually introduced the Let It Be Known family to Georgia Fort. So there is a synergy that is happening in Minneapolis to where everybody is working together. I was talking to Nekima Levy over the weekend. She was sharing information with me. This marks the 1-year anniversary of the Target boycott. Jamal Bryant put out a video. He didn't apologize, but he did acknowledge that the Target boycott was started in Minneapolis with Nekima Levy and other activists. And so everybody is working together. You see Dr. Chavis putting out a message. You see, support for Don Lemon. So the wheels of justice are working. Sometimes it's not the way we want it to happen, but the thing is, it is happening. So we'll be in Minneapolis on Black Press USA Live. Make sure y'all like and subscribe to that. We'll be talking to Nekima. We're working on getting Georgia Fort to come on in the week or two, and Dr. Melina Abdullah here in LA that is fighting for Keith Porter. And so when we talk about the Black press, when we talk about independent media, it's really important that we support each other and that we uplift each other. And I see that happening, and it's really exciting to see. And my thing, Stacey, was when everything was going down, like, don't forget about Georgia Fort. And that was one thing I loved. All of the posts that were coming out, it wasn't just Don Lemon. It was Georgia Fort as well. And we still have to remember those other 3 activists that, that were arrested as well or detained.
Yeah, Orange says he's not a journalist or a member of the Black Press, but he did start his show last Friday about the arrest of Black journalists. He said he included everyone. Nice. And I agree. We have to support each other. I'm hoping to see that support, for every one of us. I don't think we've had that collective support, that collective coming together. It's still absent, and it's really, it's needed. I'll leave it at that. It's needed.
All right, let's move on. Over the weekend, a unique streaming battle has emerged, y'all. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's going up and down your timeline. And this is in response to the Melania documentary. So a social media has started, y'all, urging viewers to stream Michelle Obama's 2020 documentary, Becoming, on Netflix. Now, activists and fans are attempting to drive Becoming back to the #1 trending spot. And they're doing this as what they're calling a quote unquote moral victory and a protest against the MAGA push for Melania. Now, the goal is to ensure that while Melania, she's in the news cycle for her $75 million budget, Michelle Obama is dominating the actual viewership data. Now, Michelle Obama's Becoming has jumped back in to the top 10 on Netflix. Last I checked yesterday, it was at number 8. I haven't checked yet, but yeah, she's in the top 10. And they're really playing with this Melania documentary, Stacey, because it's not on Amazon, which they originally promoted. It was in theaters, and it only made about 7 million. And we know that the budget was like 75 million. Mm-hmm. And Variety reported that most of the people that went to go see it was older white women. So all the Karens.
Yeah.
Karens were in the theater.
and Nicki Minaj, Sexy Red, 50 Cent, they all probably went to see it too. But the thing about it is that I don't believe the $7-8 million box office. I just don't believe it.
No, and that's very, I could dig it, as they say.
It's very paltry, yes, but I have a hard time believing when they have been reporting constantly, we've seen it constantly, that this theater, 1 person bought a ticket. This theater, 2 people bought a ticket. This theater, nobody bought a ticket. I find it hard to believe. They had a showing at the Kennedy Center. Maybe they're counting all that. Maybe they got people to pay for that. I find it hard to believe. Somebody gave a donation, maybe. I find it hard to
Well,
believe that that movie
even if that still that number is extremely low,
is extremely
and
low. Yeah.
it hasn't been profitable for the film. And we're seeing this resurgence of a 2020 documentary from Michelle Obama that is still, relevant. And they say that the documentary is really about a fitting. I'm talking about Melania now, a fitting. And somebody said it's a great soundtrack. She talks about Michael Jackson. She's seen singing Billie Jean. These are from the clips I'm seeing on social media. And so, I mean, can't touch Michelle.
Yeah, and of course they've been spinning it, and you can spin all you want. Facts are facts. This is like the Kennedy Center situation. Give me, I'm just not buying that it made even $7 million. Lady Leo says the same thing. I don't believe it either. First, it was $1 million Saturday. All of a sudden, it jumped to $7 million. Yeah, I just don't believe it. That's just me.
Yeah, I see one of our Black papers. I'm sure they've been chiming in about what's happening in Minnesota and especially in Florida, which we need to know as well. And I'm talking about the West Side Gazette newspaper.
One of the best.
They are saying we will do more when we become aware of who we are. I think that is like papers individually and collectively. That's a great statement.
So I want explain the statement. Explain the statement.
We will. Well, I mean. Oh yeah. Oh, you want them to explain it?
I want them to explain the statement. It's a great statement. Why is it a great statement? I'm not saying it's a bad statement. And here's why I say that: we will do more when we become aware. Why aren't we aware now?
Well, that could be.
What does it take? What does it take? Us to be in chains? I mean, I don't understand. Explain it, please. And Bobby Henry he knows what he's doing down here in Florida. He knows he has his finger on the pulse. So
Lady Leo says, I don't believe it either, Stacey, because the first it was 1 million Saturday, and all of a sudden it jumped to 7 million. And Dr. Maryland says they are dragging that documentary. People are saying they would rather watch January 6th than watch it. LOL. And Destiny Forever Live says it is important and so necessary for us to support each other. Stick a pin in it.
Let me say, I'm not criticizing the West Side Gazette statement at all. I'm not at all. The reason I say I want them to explain it, because if Bobby Henry has a way of putting things in words that make, it's going to make a lot of sense. And he's probably saying what I think he's saying, which you guys might be thinking is a criticism. I just want him to spell it out. That's all. Anyway, the sick and sordid details have come pouring out in droves, and among the most troublesome is that there remains still millions of unreleased pages to the Epstein files. Perhaps one thing in there that carries a lot of irony is that when allegedly recruiting, let's say allegedly, because the president is already saying he's suing Trevor Noah from last night's comedy bit that he gave. But allegedly, there was a letter, an email from Epstein to someone. He was allegedly recruiting some young girls for the president, the current president. And he was told that the current president, he wasn't president at the time, but Mr. Trump did not want any N-words. Don't bring any N-words to the island. Mr. Trump refers to them as, quote, boogers. And he doesn't want any boogers. Rep. Ro Khanna noted that there were more than 13,000 mentions of President Trump in the Epstein files as well. They really, I think what we saw with the last dump, and we saw again with this dump, they tried to take back what they put out, which tells you that certain people, no matter how many times they're mentioned, they keep missing this. This DOJ is so inept that they keep putting stuff out there when they are forced to put it out, and they forget to do the redactions, or maybe they're not forgetting. Maybe there's somebody working who really wants that stuff out in public.
Well, I know the producer director of Melania's documentary is embedded. I think his name is Brett Ratner. He's in
That's Rush Hour.
he's been embedded pictures of him with young girls. So it seems like, I mean, and let's not forget Melania's in those files too, because she's surely in a lot of pictures. And so it just seems like Trump's inner circle is surrounded by people connected in a really gross and just disgusting way in these files. And what they're doing is they're trying to muddy the waters with, you know, throwing out names like Pusha T and Jay-Z. When, and, you know, during that time in the 90s, Jay-Z, you know, there are pictures with him and Harry Weinstein, and it becomes another scenario like Diddy. Just because you went to a Diddy party, it doesn't mean that you were having a freak off, number one. And number two, Harry Weinstein was the man in Hollywood during that time. And his parties were legendary as well. And everybody, I'm talking about Oscar winners from Steven Spielberg to Tom Hanks to anybody to George Clooney. Harry Weinstein was somebody that everybody did business with in Hollywood. So they're trying to muddy the waters with individuals. And then you have people like Nicki Minaj that is throwing, you know, flame to the fire. So it's just a mess. And we're not focusing on really the person that is probably in those files the most, which is Donald Trump.
Well, a couple of things with that too. This is why folks, celebrities, there are certain celebrities, many of them really, they pick their spots where they take pictures with people, where they sign autographs, because this is, especially nowadays, in the age of AI and stuff, they don't want to get caught up in stuff like this. Chris Tucker talked about this not long ago when his name surfaced he took a flight to South Africa on Epstein's private jet. They were going for a humanitarian mission. Just because somebody shook hands once because they met Jeffrey Epstein doesn't mean that they were. Melinda Gates, she met him, right? And she said that immediately this guy came off as one of the most horrendous human beings ever, and so she didn't want anything to do with him. But the fact is, she met him, and somebody can spin that as, oh, you were with Epstein or something like that. The fact that 50 Cent is talking about, oh, you know, and I don't know if he's serious or not, but now I need to do it. He's going to do a documentary on Jay-Z and Pusha T because they're in the Epstein files. They have just simply mentioned as somebody who may have come across this man. And in their positions, somebody like a Jay-Z, a Chris, a celebrity period, Jay-Z is rolling with the billionaires, right? And he probably had no idea that Epstein was Epstein, you know. And I'm not here to defend Jay-Z, but I'm just saying that's the case with, like Chris Tucker said that. You know, all he knew is that some very wealthy person was sponsoring this trip to South Africa. It was a humanitarian mission. He didn't know that Epstein was using that trip for his own disgusting, you know, to go recruit girls. They went there and they did what Tucker and them went there and did what they were supposed to do, what they set out to do, right? To do some charity work. So when folks come across, you know, this person was in Michael Jackson's in the Epstein files, doesn't mean anything. What really, and Trump is going off about, he went off at 1 o'clock this morning, as usual, on Truth Social, about he was never at Epstein's Island. It's a lie or whatever. That's what it's real. Once you've been to the island, that's where the stigma really lies. Not that you flew on his jet or whatever. It's being at the island and not saying anything. You might be complicit if you've been partying on that island and what goes on there. That is like going into a Diddy freak off, right? It's because there's no excuse at that point of what's going on. There's no excuse. So anyway, you know, and Harvey Weinstein, he folks say they knew about Harvey Weinstein, but nobody did anything about it until he finally, got put in prison for his crimes. And I think he's the latest is just pleading guilty again for something else. But nonetheless, no, because somebody was mentioned doesn't mean they did anything nefarious. That's all I'm trying to say. We are in a partial government shutdown again. Democrats have pushed to withhold funding from the Department of Homeland Security over immigration enforcement tactics. Several federal agencies entered a partial shutdown on Saturday, days after Trump and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer announced a deal. But of course, as we reported on Friday, Schumer did not have the votes. And now you have several Democratic senators saying that no, we're not signing off on funding, giving ICE more funding. And that's the deal that Schumer apparently agreed to allow ICE to be funded at current capacities while they continue to negotiate, which is really pathetic on Chuck Schumer's part. I mean, does he think that folks forget? Just last shutdown, the reason Democrats caved was because of this crazy promise that, oh, we'll negotiate if you sign off on this, we'll negotiate healthcare. And so Schumer caved. It gave him some cover to cave, I guess. He thought it gave him cover to cave. Now Trump tells him, we'll negotiate if you just allow us to continue to pour all this money into ICE.
Well, on the House side of things, according to The Hill, the shutdown is supposed to last until tomorrow. And then that's one day longer because House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said Democrats won't provide a single vote needed to move the package along faster for a process that could have been approved today. And so in order for that to have happened, they wouldn't have needed 70 Democrats, and Hakeem Jeffries is saying no. So it's looking like they'll have to go the longer process, which might take them till Tuesday. But the good thing is that Democrats are holding the line, and a lot of that has to do with people power. As you saw, there was another, advancement to shut this United States economy down on Friday. And if we think about what happened a year later in the Target boycott and look at how that grew and what an impact that had by the summer, who knows with these shut the economy down boycotts, if they continue to happen, the impact that it could really make. And so going back to people power, a lot of this has to do with these lawmakers listening to their constituents and saying, no, we're tired. Look at the NAACP, who is now turning to something that is unprecedented. They're saying abolish ICE, no defund, no reform. They say abolish it. And so when you see things like this happening, it can't help but penetrate and move the needle on Capitol Hill.
Well, you say they're holding the line. We'll see, because they continue to fold like heroin addicts. I mean, it's just like, give me a break. Let's see if they won't fold this time, because they folded they continue to fold. Jeffries, I think Hakeem has seemingly found some footing. He is, because he was as big a disappointment as Schumer for a while there. But I think that Hakeem has finally found some footing. And we'll see if he can get his caucus to follow him, because Schumer certainly doesn't have his caucus following him, not lockstep like the MAGA folks, like MAGA Mike. But we'll see. We will see. I agree with you on the people power. People are fed up. Is the Democratic caucus as fed up as their constituents? That's going to be the question, because the proof is in the pudding. They keep folding. You got to have some spine, and let's see. I think Hakeem has changed a bit over the last few months. He's finally seemed to say, I'm going to lead the way people expect me to lead, that my people expect me to lead. So we'll see.
So in more news, let's head to Texas as we talk about leadership and congressional members. In a victory for Houston's historic 18th congressional district, former Harris County Attorney Christian Menifee won the special election runoff this past Saturday. Now his win narrows the Republican majority in the House, which we were just speaking of, to a razor 2018 to 2014. So, to your point, it's not just about, if they could stand up, but it's also picking up these numbers to take over. And that's what one number closer. Now, in his victory speech, Menifee was defiant, telling supporters his win is a mandate to oppose the current administration's agenda, specifically citing plans to challenge ICE operations. Now, of course, if you remember, his seat was long held by the late Sheila Jackson Lee and most recently Sylvester Turner. So that was a really popular Black seat. It was maintained by a Black person. And so one more number means one number closer to flipping Congress in the House. And we know that a lot of the actions that are happening is because Donald Trump does not want a midterm. None of the Republicans do, because they fear that they will lose.
Well, here's the thing, though, Niele. When you talk about that, first and foremost, that's a huge win. Trump have won that district by 17 points. So it shows you the huge turnaround. But here is something else to keep in mind on that win. Republicans voted for Democrats this time. Republicans. That's how bad it is right now. And it was a huge amount of Republicans. I have the numbers here. Texas State election, Senate District 9 special election, voter partisanship. Republicans, 51% of Republicans voted in this particular election. Only 35% of Democratic voters cast ballots. Yet Taylor Raymond, how you pronounce his last name, won by a landslide. The latest vote count was 57% to 43%. So I think that's a signal of how a couple of things, how much in trouble that the Republicans know that they are in, because their own voters turned on them, right? And two, somebody mentioned this, and I don't know when Governor Hot Wheels' term is up, but now would be the time for a Democrat to challenge him.
Yeah, for sure. We have some comments in the chat. The West Side Gazette newspaper responded, and they said, Black self-awareness is the moment we remember who we are, where we come from, and why our voice matters. When we see ourselves clearly, our history, our power, our responsibility, then we move with purpose, make informed choices, and create positive change, not just for ourselves, but for generations to come. Stay alive. I'm Black and I'm proud. Patricia Jackson says he was financial guy initially, but a picture doesn't mean you engaged in deeds. That's true.
Right.
That was what you were saying. And then who else do we have? So many. Yeah, thanks for y'all chiming in, y'all talking. Nancy Wall says, I'm so glad he won the seat. She was a trailblazer. Orange G says, shame on Greg Abbott. That special election took a whole year because Hot Wheels Abbott didn't want to see a Black person win Houston. So yeah, the chat is chatting. Y'all chatting it up. But let's head to Virginia, where a Virginia state court has blocked Democrats' plan to redistrict this year, which is a blow to the party's hope of redrawing the state's congressional lines ahead of the midterm. So they're just going to have to knock on some more doors. They're going to have to make some more calls. And maybe, like, to your point, Stacey, in Houston, you said they had Republicans voting. So we might see that in Virginia, and at the rate that this Trump administration is going, you're going to see a lot more of that type of activity happened with what are they called? Republicans.
What do they call Republicans?
They call Republicans, right? Okay, so you guys, it has happened again. I know Orange G can weigh in on this. 8 inmates escaped from Louisiana from a detention center over the weekend. Y'all, another 8 broke free. However, this time it didn't take as long to capture the escapees. Louisiana authorities say all 8 inmates who escaped from a rural jail were captured less than 24 hours after they were reported missing. Now, officials have not said how the escape unfolded from the River Bend Detention Center in Lake Providence, which it borders Arkansas and Mississippi. So they have also not detailed how each of the men were captured. But nevertheless, another 8 escapees. What is going on in Louisiana with these prisons?
Well, I mean, it's a slave plantation. The Parchment prison there. Now they wasn't in Parchment yet. Perhaps they were on their way. They were in a detention center, but Parchment is a 1,000% slave plantation. In fact, it was built on a slave plantation and it's run as if it's still a slave plantation. It's one of those prisons that Jay-Z sued. His company, his organization sued
Reform Alliance.
And it is the conditions there. I remember during the pandemic, they had some folks had some phones smuggled in there, and they had no protection from the pandemic. They had mold everywhere. They were showing this on the phones, the mold, the water, the floodings, the rodents and the food, and they treat these prisoners, like I said, like slaves.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know, if you're in Louisiana, you're safe. They have been detained. And yes, we do need prison reform at the same time.
Louisiana, I'm sorry, Angola. I'm thinking Mississippi. Angola is the same as Parchment in Louisiana. Angola is in Louisiana. Parchment is in Mississippi. And both of them, Jay-Z sued both of them, by the way. And they're both run the same way. RNG could tell us all about that, right, RNG?
Well, let's head to some HBCU headlines. This is one that is beginning to trend. Shocking footage has gone viral after this weekend showing Tuskegee University men's basketball coach Benji Taylor being handcuffed and escorted off the court by police following a game against rival Morehouse in Atlanta. Now, the incident has something to do with a violation with the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, known as SIAC. Now, the policy is meant to prevent altercations between athletes and non-competitors. So it has something to do with the basketball game and the football players getting in the line where they shake the hands. So Taylor was released shortly after being detained and was able to travel back to Alabama with his team. However, as of Sunday, February 1st, Taylor has retained civil rights attorneys and is exploring a civil lawsuit. Tuskegee University has issued a statement of unequivocal support for their coach, maintaining that he acted responsibly to de-escalate a dangerous situation. Now, yesterday, I was able to connect with civil rights attorney Gerald Griggs, who is one of the attorneys representing him out of Atlanta. They're going to be sending us some information, Stacey, and let it be known, family, about the status. And then Morehouse hasn't responded yet. So everybody's trying to assess this situation as to what happened to this game, but it has something to do with, at the end of the game, where you tap hands and you congratulate. Apparently some football players got into it, so maybe they're rival teams. So this is a developing story, but nevertheless, nobody agrees with that coach being detained and taken out of that locker room. I mean arena.
It was just shocking, as one news outlet put it, to see that at center court, this coach, you could see how shocked he was when the cop pulled out the handcuffs And he was like, "Are you kidding?" It basically had that "Are you kidding me?" look. It just was absolutely uncalled for. I don't know what was on this cop's mind, um, but that was so crazy. And they, I don't blame him for looking into, a lawsuit, because that was insane to do something like that. RNG
Yeah.
mentions that, by the way, yeah, and I think, yeah, we cleared that up. RNG says Angola and Parchment are in different states. Both were former plantations, and the descendants of those plantations still make money off of enslaved labor to this day. Yeah, absolutely. But that was insane, putting that coach in handcuffs right there. He was not, like as they said, it appeared from the videos that he was trying to de-escalate. Apparently, the football team
Right.
came onto the court or something, and he wanted to make sure that there was no altercation.
Right. That's what he was doing. That's what the story that they are saying that happened. And that a couple people that jumped in the line were not players. And so, like you said, he was trying to de-escalate. So we're going to develop this story. I mean, continue to follow this story as it develops. We want to hear what Morehouse College has to say about this, and we'll just continue to follow the story. But on some Black man joy, let's head to Southern. This was a story that happened in 2025 that's worth a mention in 2026. Southern University graduates a record number of Black male nurses. Now, this is a win for healthcare equity. Southern University celebrated the graduation of its largest ever cohort of 33 Black male nursing students. And the milestone is specifically significant as research consistently shows that Black patients experience better health outcomes when treated by Black practitioners, directly addressing the racial divide in American healthcare. I totally agree with that. Studies prove that, especially during COVID. And so this is great to see. We continue to rise.
Yeah, that is great to see, that big class going into the medical profession. That is huge, because it is true. There's no disputing that Black healthcare providers are what most Black folks need. That's just the bottom line, to put it very simple.
Yeah, for sure. And so we have officially entered, Stacey, Super Bowl week. Okay, the big game is happening this Sunday. So timed with Super Bowl weekend, the Black College Football Hall of Fame officially announced its class of 2026. Now, this year, inductees included legends like Jimmy Smith from Jackson State, Nicholas Collins from Bethune-Cookman, and the announcement has renewed the push for the NFL to increase its pipeline and coaching opportunities for HBCU graduates. So this is how you start a pipeline, Stacey, I guess.
Yeah, but HBCUs, and RNG speaks about this on his program. He really highlights that's all he highlights is HBCUs, and good. That's the way it should be. But HBCUs never get nearly enough credit. What they provide in the world of sports, but in other so many the graduates of HBCU. When you graduated HBCU, the level of accomplishments that many have achieved is bar none. That's why you have this this crackdown, this white supremacy and stuff like that, because they see that and they are so afraid of that. The minds that come out of HBCUs are just amazing, and not only the education part, Neil. What I witnessed with HBCU students, I went to a PWI, right? But what I witnessed with HBCUs students, graduates, is, you mentioned the word joy. They have the mind and they have the joy. They have the pride. They're proud. And you don't get that everywhere else.
Well, I can agree. Graham fam in the house. Let's jump into another sports topic. So here's the riddle. What does Madison Square Garden and a toupee have in common? And the answer is heavyweight Jarrell Big Baby Miller. Now, Big Baby had his hairpiece punched clean off during a second round battle against another boxer over the weekend. Rather than embarrass, Miller leaned into the comedy, ripping the toupee off and tossing it into the crowd before securing a split decision victory. Now, after the fight, Miller explained that he was wearing the toupee because he had accidentally washed his hair with amino bleach at his mother's house days prior, causing his real hair to fall out. Now that is bizarre, but
Wait, he washed his hair with bleach?
yeah, he said maybe he was trying to dye his hair. Maybe he was trying to do a Malcolm X. I don't know.
Wait, and speaking of dyeing your hair in Madison Square Garden, I was watching the Knicks-Laker game last night. Tracy Morgan was sitting courtside. I like Tracy Morgan and all, but Tracy Morgan gave me the Jermaine Jackson vibes. Oh my gosh, he clearly did something to his hair, colored his hair, and then the sideburns. He had these sideburns going down, and they were just so dark. I'm like, Tracy, you're looking kind of crazy. But this, I'm glad he was able to. In that situation right there, you can only make fun of yourself, right? I'm glad he was able.
That is crazy. That is crazy. Well, he didn't catch any headlines for the fight, but he did bring attention to the fight because of his toupee hats. So,
oh my God,
there you have it.
See, that other fighter, if he won the fight, if that other fighter would have won the fight, he could have always bragged, man, I knocked the toupee off that guy.
That's a good one.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So folks, over the weekend, we got some sad news. Fans of Sanford and Son, Damon Wilson died at the age of 79. He had been on the interview circuit for the last few years. You hadn't heard from him in a while until maybe about 3 years ago. He started really doing the interview circuit and talking about his days at Sanford and Son. He also played in a couple of other things. He had taken like a 10-year hiatus from Hollywood as well. He became a preacher, and his actual name, folks, we always think of him as Damon Wilson or Lamont, but Grady Damon Wilson is his name. Of course, Grady was Fred's best friend on that show. And that show had a lot of things like that because, for instance, Fred Sanford, the name Fred Sanford is actually was actually Red Fox's brother's name.
Okay.
Yeah, and the role of Esther, Aunt Esther, her and Red Fox grew up together in St. Louis, and he had always promised her that if he made it on television, that she would always have a spot, and he lived up to that. She always talked about that as well. But yeah, Damon Wilson, apparently the reports are that he had been battling some sort of cancer for a while now. And he did pass away at 79. His son gave a great tribute, talked about how while folks know the actor, he knew the man, and there was no better father in his eyes than his dad, Damon Wilson.
Yeah, definitely a contributor to nostalgia and culture for today, because everybody knows what Sanford and Son is when you think about, like, shows of Black culture from the 70s. That goes right up there with the Jeffersons and Good Times. And you have Sanford and Son. So much prayers to his family. But thank God we can still laugh with them. And at and at his crazy daddy on the show.
It was so odd, right? When you think about it, because when I watched the show, sometimes you get carried away. So you watch the show, I'm like, Lamont is 30-something years old. Well, why does he act like a child? And Fred treated him like a child. There were times he's act like a little child. It's like, give me a break. But then you got his father call him a dummy. That's no way to raise a child, calling him a dummy.
Yeah, that was one of his catchphrases. You big dummy.
Yeah.
When I hear you big dummy.
That's what you think about, right? Those two.
So yeah. So before we get up out of here, we have to talk about the biggest night in music, which happened last night, the Grammys. And so of course Kendrick Lamar has surpassed Jay-Z to become the most awarded rapper in Grammy history. But I thought one of my favorite moments was when he and SZA won for Song of the Year. That's like one of the big awards to win. But I appreciated how they talked about the curation of that song, Luther. First off, did you see it? Did you see Cher? First off, did you see Cher, Stacey?
I heard it, but I don't watch the award shows. I just can't. But go ahead.
So Cher came out and clearly she didn't realize that she was there to introduce the Song of the Year because she gave a speech, then she walked off, and Trevor Noah says, "You have to come back because you have to give the nomination." So she gives the nomination and she doesn't know how to, she has the envelope in her hand. And then she goes, "It's supposed to be on the teleprompter." Oh, okay. Then she opens up and then she says, "And the winner is Luther Vandross." And everybody is just looking like, what is going on? But then they come up to take the award and they talk about Luther Vandross. They don't even really talk about, they talk about
Right.
the song, but they talk about how the song came to be. And they centered that conversation in Luther Vandross. They talked about the estate, the conversation of obtaining the song, how the estate
Wow.
told them you could have it, but you can't cuss. And Kendrick was like, "We're not going to cuss." But they gave it up to Luther Vandross. And if you saw Luther Vandross's documentary, you know how important a Grammy and
Yeah.
the awards of acknowledgement were for him. So to see that moment and for, you know, Kendrick and SZA and the producer to give that moment to Luther Vandross for Song of the Year, I thought that was just huge. And they walked away with it. So it was great.
So was Cher's part, was that like scripted for her to do that then?
No, she just came out and she gave a speech. And then she was like, "I don't know what else I'm supposed to do." And she walked away. So then Trevor Noah came out and he was like, "You gotta love live TV." And he said, Cher, you gotta come back and give Song of the Year. And she's like, "Oh, okay." And then she kind of fumbles and then she kind of, you know, says the nominees. And then she kind of searches for her winner. And then they're like, the envelope. She said, "Well, they said it was gonna be on the teleprompter." And then she was like, "Oh, well." She opened it and she goes, "Luther Vandross." And Kendrick and them start busting up. But the lady is damn near 90. Okay.
Goodness grief. Wow. Okay. The only white woman I've ever had a crush on.
But she looks amazing. Look at her.
Yeah, what I wanted to say was that, you know, I didn't see it either. I don't, you know, I don't watch TV, so.
Oh,
You know,
Lord.
So but I was mad that I missed it because I wanted to see the performances. But I did get a chance to see on YouTube a couple of clips, you know, from the red carpet, and I wanted to say I'm proud of the clips I saw where Black folks took the opportunity to speak to the moment, to talk about our history, you know what I'm saying? And that they were there to speak life into us as we're being erased. I really appreciated that.
Yeah, it was
I could-
great. And they definitely during the award show discussed the moment in time. Bad Bunny, you know, he got his message out the best he could in English, you know. 'Cause he just not leaning into English, okay? But he got it out. And you saw a lot. Olivia Dean, who won New Artist, she has this really posh from she's like Afro Latina. She talked about her grandparents being immigrants. So everybody leaned in to the Billie Eilish. She took that moment to, you know, to speak truth to power. And so it was so bad that this morning Donald Trump said that he might sue Trevor Noah for taking jabs at him for Epstein jokes.
and he, you know, he also noted in that 1 a.m. post that he was going to he was glad that CBS decided not to air the Grammys anymore. you know, of course, CBS, he owns that network now. You know, I don't know which network had it this time. ABC?
No, it was on CBS last night. It was the last year for it.
Oh, so that's what he was referring to.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But and last but not least, Samara Jones, the jazz artist, she won. Big winners. Leon Thomas won for best R&B for Mutt, proving that the new generation of soul is in good hands. He had a really great performance. Tyler the Creator, I don't know about his performance. It kind of threw me off. I don't know what was going on. It was given like Dusty Rhodes, Psycho, Thriller. It was just a lot going on with that performance. But he had Regina King in his performance, and she was speaking. Her speech was bomb, though. And then the most beautiful moment, the most gorgeous moment of the night was the tribute to Roberta Flack and D'Angelo. Baby, when I tell you they left nothing on the table for those two artists, I mean, you see there, you have Raphael Sadiq, Wyclef Jean, Layla Hathaway, October, London, John Baptiste, Shaka Khan, John Legend. And it was like, Anthony Hamilton. It was so beautiful. And then they had like the organ there with nobody at it, just for reminiscent of D'Angelo. It was beautiful. It was so good.
You know, two things about the Grammys, right? Again, I didn't watch, but two things jump out when you talk about D'Angelo too. 10 years ago, Prince died, and there was lots of tributes, and understandably so, but I barely watched any and was just reminded how D'Angelo gave what had to be the best Prince tribute. It was a tearful and spot-on rendition of Sometimes It Snows in April. And I have never seen anyone perform a Prince tribute or a Prince moment of any kind that was so spot on Prince. And D'Angelo absolutely killed it. So it's really interesting that, you know, I think about that as they paid tribute to D'Angelo, as you're saying, and how great it was, because he put on, it was just amazing what he did for Prince.
Yeah, there's a picture of last night. Bilal did the same thing. I mean, everybody captured whatever song they sung, they captured the essence of D'Angelo and Roberta Flack. And Miss Lauryn Hill, she did her thing, although she did not know who was coming out and when. She was calling all the wrong people when they was coming out. And it's like, girl, read the teleprompter or stick to the notes. But
they didn't give Cher a teleprompter, but they gave Lauryn the teleprompter, and Lauryn
they should have gave her. Well, Lauryn
I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Lauryn needed the teleprompter, but that performance, and then she did Killing Me Softly, you know, in the original state. And then she told Wyclef to take it away to the Fugees. And then it was just like everybody on the stage went bananas. It was such a beautiful tribute to both of the legends. I mean, and to Greer's point about just, we showed up last night. And that is why that performance right there showed why Black people are the culture. We are the culture. And all of those songs, especially Roberta Flack, think about how many people have sampled her music.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, how many people have sampled her music? And D'Angelo, you know, will be the same. And I hope that these younger generation artists are challenged by what they saw, because over the weekend I saw New Edition. And it just amazed me. After 40 years, you still know every lyric. They still know every dance move, and they can sell out arenas. Can these new artists of the day transcend from generation to generation like these artists, you know, from Gen X and beyond? I don't know if that's going to happen.
You know, and I understand Kendrick won a number of awards last night. But, you know, I thought about this too when I was seeing the headlines this morning. I understand that they probably showed during a commercial the trailer or some sort of piece about the upcoming movie about Michael Jackson, and it made me think about Thriller, and it set the record way back in 1983. I think it was 83. He won 8 Grammy Awards for that. And think about if Thriller were released today, it's likely that Michael would have won at least 12 out of the 17 the album probably would have been nominated for. It's just amazing. You talk about Black culture, all what has been accomplished and what they are trying to erase. It's phenomenal to see and hear. Like I said, I didn't watch, and I hear you describe the performance, Lauryn Hill and all of the rest, and I was just talking about D'Angelo and his tribute some years ago to Prince, and just how Black artists really get down from Michael to today, right? And how the standards that they set, because I don't think I'm going to ever see anybody do Prince the way D'Angelo did. You're probably not going to ever see another New Edition. You went to that show. I saw some of your video from the show. You're not going to see that anymore. But you always will have that. Mm-hmm. And it's just the greatness of you talk about Black History Month and stuff, but it's a great way to kick it off. Mm-hmm. With all of that greatness that can't be touched.
Yeah, but when you see an artist like Leon Mutt, who was like centered in, I guess they had all of the new artists performing. And one thing about, like you brought up Michael Jackson, but Michael Jackson didn't really play instruments. You brought up Prince. Prince played instruments. It's nothing like live music. Okay, it's just nothing like it. Like on Friday, I went to go see Robert Glasper. And I mean, when I tell you they play, and then Layla Hathaway came out. And then it's just like when you have an artist that is in tune with live music and they can go back and forth, it's nothing like it. So when Leon Mutt performed last night and he played, it just elevated the moment so much more. And so to your point, there are certain ones like Leon Mutt. I think of Her. The artist Her, they are maintaining that longevity that you're talking about. It's a few, but like at the New Edition concert, B2K came out, and it was like, why are we even wasting? Bring Boys to Men back out, please. But to that point, it's like they don't. It's not the same. But then you have some hope, like October London. He came out and was giving us like reminiscent of, Marvin Gaye, a Croner. He looked nice. He had on a tuxedo. He wasn't sagging, so it's just that there are a few out there, Stacey, that are going to hold the line, but that's what makes them unique and rare, and they'll go far.
Let me say something real quick. The go far part right there. Okay. Go far where? Now, I'm not trying, because all the people that you named, Her, Prince, the total package, they're all, in terms of mainstream, people appreciate their music, but they're always going to have problems with the industry because they are a total package. Mm-hmm. Just think about that. You know what I mean? Because Michael was able to go far, and he was what he was, and all the things. But like you said, he didn't play an instrument. Prince did.
That's a shame.
Prince had issues with this industry. So when you come with a total package, you can produce, you can do your own thing, and you don't require the system per se. Baby, Her, total package. Yeah, you know what I mean? Layla Hathaway, total package.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And one of the things, the sense that I got when I was looking at all those Black folks, making sure that they said something, those Black artists last night, to honor their people and their own humanity. I thought, because I've been to those events back in the day, I thought, I wonder how comfortable it is right now to be in that space. You know, usually now I don't know if they're still doing this, but you know that usually the black party and all that sort of thing that goes down. I don't know if that happened last night, Neo.
It happened with Larry Jackson gave his gamma party. And you know, Fuzzy was talking about how it's the littest black party in you know, for Grammy week. But then you also had the Black Collective, which is the black part of the Grammys that had their annual luncheon, and they honored Pharrell and Kirk Franklin. Mariah Carey got honored by Music Cares, but from the black perspective, Larry Jackson threw a party last night. But the thing about like the Layla Hathaways and the Hers and stuff is most of those artists now make their money on the road. You know, they're selling out concerts, and that's how like the Mary J. Bliges and all of these artists are maintaining. And then you see them doing these Vegas residencies. It's because they figured out that it's not about sometimes the industry. Let me go out here and hit the road and get this good money and this good portion of the check.
Well, two things. One, you said Fuzzy. Is that Fuzzy Fantabulous you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my guy right there. The other thing you mentioned, live music, and you're 100%, 100,000% correct. There's nothing like live music. And I will say, as Dr. Nicole talks about the legends, she says she agreed about the legends. That's what she said about MJ looking for the new king of pop. Just cut it out, because there's a lot of other great artists out there, but he was the only one we will see in our lifetimes. One of the things I would say about Michael is where I wish he would not have done this. I wish he would not have deprived his fans of his ability to sit at that piano and rock out. Michael could play the piano. I don't know if he could play other instruments.
That's what Big Cheese says. Big Cheese is saying Michael Jackson played the piano.
Yeah, he could play. His fans probably don't know it as much as they should anyway, because he never did it in concert or anything like that. But he could play that piano. I saw him play "I'll Be There" and what was the other song? His song from it was a song from his Bad album with the girl. I Just Can't Stop Loving You on the piano. And I just thought, man, this guy is more talented. He's even more talented than we even know. But I think he deprived his fans of that, and deprived himself too, because when you watch like an Alicia Keys sit at the piano, and you know how great she is at the piano, if you're a live music fan, you sit there and you marvel at that. D'Angelo, you marveled at that. If you saw him live, if you see these guys doing this live, it's nothing like it.
Yeah, if anybody can go to check out the Blue Note, they have one in New York. They just opened one here in LA. Robert Glasper is like the resident musician there, which was a big part of why we have one in LA. But just go to a jam session or to your local jazz club. Most of them are Black owned in your community. Go to your local jazz club. You will be surprised. Number one, at how many very popular musicians pull up to these types of venues and they just jam. And it is so good. So good. Greer has a clip she wants to play.
Chris Brown. Trey Songz or Jeremiah? Trey Songz. Erykah Badu or Chris Brown or Usher? Chris Brown. Trey Songz or Jeremiah? Trey Songz. Erykah Badu or Alicia Keys? Erykah Badu. Keith Sweat or Johnny Gill? Keith Sweat. Mariah or Janet? Janet.
Mariah.
Michael Jackson or Prince? Michael Jackson. Monica or Brandy? Brandy. Tory Lanez or The Weeknd? I'm gonna go with Tory. Stevie Wonder or Luther Vandross? Stevie Wonder. Al Green. Teddy Pendergrass. Al Green.
Teddy Pendergrass.
Bobby Brown or Albie Shaw?
Bobby Brown.
Marvin Gaye or Smokey Robinson?
Marvin Gaye.
TLC or SWV?
SWV.
Otis Redding or Sam Cooke? Sam Cooke. New Edition or the Jackson 5? I have to go with New Edition. Thriller or Off the Wall?
Off the Wall.
Go ahead and get my shot. Yeah. I don't want to do this. Chris Brown or Usher?
That was fun.
That was interesting. Yeah, I don't totally agree with his response, but that was a great Q&A there.
And then I don't even think it's a disagree. It's just what's your preference?
Yeah.
What's your preference?
Yeah. Wow. That was nice. That's a nice touch right there. That had to be fun doing that.
We have
That's
some
fun.
comments. We have some comments. Nicole McDaniel says, agreed about the legends. That's what I say about MJ, and looking forward to the new King of Pop. Yeah, I want to see that that movie too. Just cut it out because there's a lot of other great artists out there, but he was the only one we will see in our lifetime. Dr. Mellon says, I love live music too. I like Leela James. She has a band who uses live instruments. Yeah, let us see Jill Scott. Jill Scott's coming out, so you know she hitting the road, and she gonna have something too. Destiny Forever to Live says, okay, I thought MJ could play the piano. Thanks for that update. So yeah, they're just going in. The comments is going. Yeah, keep them coming.
She's like, and look, she said that was an unfair game, difficult to choose between some of them. Real. Yeah.
Michelle Madison says, I disagree with half of those choices. But it's not about disagreeing. It's about preference. What is your preference?
Yeah. Those were hard. Nancy Wall said those would be all good in verses. Man.
Who did SWV? SWV did one against Escape.
Okay.
Yeah, I think TLC and Destiny's Child would be more compatible. Just because of what Destiny's Child was in their era and what TLC was in, in like the era right before. I think that would be a better match off. And I think SWV and Escape would be a better comparison. And I think I would go with SWV still.
And they mentioned it's so interesting. It was really a good one. New Edition and Jackson 5.
See, I wouldn't do that one. I wouldn't do that one.
Well, what I'm saying is he picked New Edition, and at first glance you say the Jackson 5, of course, right? But then you think about it. Now, New Edition, when they first came out with Candy Girl, they were compared to the Jackson 5, right? And they had that Jackson 5 sound, but not only did New Edition have the longevity that the Jackson 5 did not have, but the spinoffs, Ronnie Bobby, Ricky, all those guys did something amazing outside of the group. Of the Jacksons, only Michael did something amazing. Well, you can make an argument for Jermaine too, but that's it.
And you got to remember too, because of New Edition and their success, you talk about spinoffs, the other boy groups that they inspired, even the white ones.
Right. New Kids on the Block, and what's the other, Backstreet Boys? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So like I said, the first inclination, of course, the Jackson 5, because you're thinking about Michael. But then you think about it, and you're like, gosh. And then, like you said, you saw a New Edition over the weekend. It's like, man.
Yeah, I picked New Edition, but that's just who I grew up on. And I love the Jacksons, but I grew up on New Edition. My first concert was a New Edition concert with the Jets and Morris Day. I mean, I have seen New Edition. I've seen every edition of New Edition. The originals, when it was just 4 of them, when Johnny came, and then when they all got back together, and I would do it again every time, because when I tell you every lyric, it wasn't just me. I mean, and everybody came in they NE gear. Okay. They had custom New Edition outfits made. It was a multi-generational concert. It was just amazing. It was amazing.
And speaking of your concert, I understand that Boyz II Men reunited with their 4th member for this tour.
Well, no, that was just a special appearance in Vegas. So I seen them on Friday when they were in Vegas. They reunited Boyz II Men, and they were great too. I mean, I forgot how many hits Boyz II Men had. I mean, so good. And Toni Braxton was good too. She actually brought out, I know everybody, I posted the video. Everybody's like, who is that girl? That is Travis. What is Taylor Swift's fiance's name? the chief
Yeah,
guy?
Kelsey. Yeah, Kelsey.
Kelsey. What's his
Travis
name?
Kelsey.
Travis Kelsey.
Mhm.
His girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, the black girl.
Yeah,
For Halloween, she did a rendition of Tony Braxton's song. He wasn't mad enough for me. So for the LA show, Tony Braxton brought her out, and then they did the dance together. And so I mean, I don't know if that was taking shots at Taylor Swift or not, because that was the intent. But Tony brought her out, and they did the whole routine together. So that was a funny moment too. But it was 4 hours. That concert was a good almost 4 hours long, and they did not sing all the hits. Okay, and they, to your point, they did the breakouts. You had Johnny Gill did his set, Bobby Brown did his set, BBD did his set, Ralph Transvet did his, and they all supported and helped each other on each other's sets. So when I tell you, heck, it
4
was the
hours?
best thing. Almost 4 hours. Yeah.
So the groups who are legendary for long concerts, Springsteen and the E Street Band usually plays 3.5 hours. The Grateful Dead usually play about 3 to 4 hours as well. But other than that, artists get in and they get out. It'll be 90 minutes and out.
and see, the way that they did the show was great because they all performed together. And so when they started, they were all on stage together, and then they kind of just pivot. You know, they would like relay, your turn, and it was just a sequence of things. So the show never stopped. There were no intermissions. It was just like, it was either New Edition, and then Boyz II Men, and then Bobby Brown, then Tony Braxton, then Johnny Gill, then New Edition. It was just this formula, and they just kept going. It was like,
I was invited back in 2003, 2004 to a private Prince show after he got elected into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And it was at a place called Club Black in New York. And Beyonce was there. I don't think they were dating at the time, or maybe they was, you would know. Jay-Z was there, Alicia Keys, so many celebrities. It was like 500 people. And Prince came on that stage at 2:30 in the morning. He left the stage. It was 6:45 a.m. That was like, I was exhausted watching him, and he was not exhausted.
Yeah,
you know, but he didn't normally play. He didn't normally play that long a show. I mean, because Prince would do his concerts, it'd be, you know, hour 45 minutes, 2 hours, and then he would do an after show. But this was like crazy. So when you say 4 hours, that's the only thing I can think of. And like I said, the E Street Band with Bruce and Grateful Dead, their concerts are like 4 hours. But other than that, man, and those guys, you talk about New Edition and those guys, these are not young kids anymore.
And they look like they have so much fun. They laugh at each other. They be laughing at Bobby, because Bobby be half stepping. He ain't doing every little step no more. Bobby is half stepping. They be laughing.
That's all he's doing is every little step.
And they come out and they support him. It is just like the most beautiful thing ever to see. So if it's coming to a city near you, and I would recommend, if you want a good time, like Tony Braxton, Boyz II Men, New Edition, fabulous show.
Wow. Yeah. That's the concert of the year so far this year, right? That's the tour of the year.
Yeah, I wouldn't say of the year, because we don't know yet. You know, everybody.
Well, that's what I said so far.
Everybody is saving their money. They like, it's Beyonce. Are we getting Act 3? You know, so you have anticipation for that. And so you never know who's gonna pop out with a tour. Jill Scott, she's dropping her album this month, maybe next. I think it comes out next week, so you know she's gonna hit the road. So a lot of stuff.
Yeah. All right. Black history, folks. On this date in 1897, Alfred Crail invented the ice cream scoop. He was working at a porter for a hotel, and he noticed that people were having a hard time scooping ice cream with ordinary utensils. So he decided to create a device that would help. And in 1897, he had patented the ice cream mold and disher, which was designed to not only scoop ice cream, but also keep it from sticking to the device to make the process a lot easier. His handy invention, folks, is still being used by so many millions of people today.
I love that. I mean, well thought out. not even like make it to where it doesn't stick, which means that he had to do that a lot of times to get to that. I had started watching Madam C.J. Walker with Octavia Spencer, and like how many times it took her to steal that formula from that lady. But how many times it took her to make her Madam C.J. Walker formula to where you didn't smell the sulfur. You know what I'm saying? So it was different, but you know, the premise formula was from somebody else, and she just perfected that formula. And we know the story of Madam C.J. Walker. But my point is, how many times and how many attempts and how many scalps she burned to get that formula. And Black people have been doing that. You know, ice cream scoop, something we take for granted. When you scoop your ice cream, remember that it wouldn't be so smooth if it wasn't for a Black man.
There you go.
And in honor of the Grammys, our another of our Black History facts is in honor of the Grammys. So in 1988, Jody Watley, remember her? She won the Grammy for Best New Artist, which is so fitting because Olivia Dean, Greer, if you get a picture of her, she has that flavor. She has Jody Watley flavor, even her song. She won New Artist last night. But Jody Watley in 1988 won Best New Artist, becoming the only, the third artist to win the award at that time. And so another Black woman, an Afro-Latino, won last night. And her song is very popular.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well,
that's her. There's Olivia Dean. Mm-hmm.
What a day.
What a day. So don't forget, 1:00 Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Pacific, live on Black Press USA. We will be talking with Nekima Levy Armstrong from Minneapolis. She's going to talk about what happened when she was detained by ICE officers. We're going to talk about the going into second year of the boycott. And what's next for Minneapolis? There's so many things to talk about. So she's going to tap in with us on live. And then don't forget, for the latest in Black news and the organization that celebrates Black history 365 days a year, there's no other place but blackpressusa.com.
Have a good one.